Breaking news. What's going on, everybody? Bossman and Hammer back here again for another episode of Biscuits and SEC Live. I hope you guys can hear me. I got a new mic from Barnes & Noble. I was in the line this weekend, and I saw this mic. It was like $10, and it plugs into my computer, and I felt like I had to use it, at least for tonight. So I might unplug it. I don't know if I can hold this up the whole show. But anyway, thank you to all of you for joining us. We do appreciate it. We will see tonight if Hammer and Bossman can looks max everybody. I'll try not to get frame mogged by Hammer. If you don't know those references, that's good. That means you have touched grass, and it means that I need to get offline. But anyway,
I don't know what any of that means.
Good. So. Okay. Glad you're one of us who touches grass. The other one does not. Anyway, it's good to be here. Show 72 of Biscuits and SEC Live, and we are looking forward to the show tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on with the Charles Bediako situation and Trinidad Chambliss. We've also got SEC baseball coming up this weekend. We're pumped about that. We got SEC basketball that is going on. March Madness is just around the corner. And then we'll also get into some impact transfers. So we're going to talk about this over the next 2 weeks. We've been looking through, we've scoured, the rosters and what's been going on in the transfer portal. So Hammer's going to give us his impact transfers, and I'll give you guys my 5 impact transfers next week. So we'll reveal those later in the show. But first of all, Hammer, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Yeah, excited to chat through some of this stuff tonight. And your mic, it looks like an Anchorman bit or something, where it's like, and we're gonna go live to Brick on scene, and he's got a tiny mic.
Tiny mic.
Yeah. Those are the vibes it's giving off. I know that's not an actual scene, but it feels like it could have been.
Yes.
Or an SNL bit or something like that, because the tiny mic, but maybe it needs to stay. I think next up, get a tiny mic stand. So you just have a tiny mic stand and a tiny mic.
I like that. That's a good idea. Then we're a real podcast. We've got the tiny mic up here.
Right.
I thought maybe I should put it on the lapel or something, but I was like, you know what? I actually think it's better if I hold it like I'm in the field doing the news. So newsman, boss man, here with you all tonight. Glad our friend Mike Huseman's with us. Audio is good. Okay. Good to know. Glad to hear it. Glad this thing works. I was a little worried. $15. I was not sure if this thing was going to work or not. It's even got like this little rope that it's not really a typical audio cord. So I was not sure this was going to work. So glad it's working. But anyway, okay. As always, everybody, biscuitsndsec.com/newsletter. You can sign up for the Morning Biscuits newsletter. Hammer got it out this morning. Everything you want to know about the SEC comes to you during the off season, which unfortunately we are in now, but it comes to you in the off season on Wednesdays. And then during the season comes to you on Mondays and Fridays. Everything you want to know about what's going on around the SEC, what's going on across the NCAA. Sometimes we take a look at what's going on in the Big Ten, just because, you got to keep an eye on the competition about what's going on over there too. So we hope that you will subscribe to that, free to sign up. So please go to biscuitsndsec.com/newsletter to sign up. All right, Hammer, let's get a move on here. Denied Charles Bediako and Trinidad Chambliss. The NCAA finally getting some W's, I guess, depending on who you ask. Maybe not if you're a Bama fan or an Ole Miss fan. But, some real breaking news tonight, or at least news from Anchorman, Bossman. Bediako Chambliss, give us your thoughts. You wrote the newsletter this morning, so you kind of know you've got the basis of what's going on here. So help us out.
Yeah, so on the Chambliss front, that jump in the comments here if I get this wrong. I know obviously Stephen Willis is all over this, and so we probably have some Ole Miss folks that are tuning in, but that doesn't appear to be done. So his waiver for a 6th year was denied, right? And Ole Miss has since filed what is called a reconsideration. And I believe according to Ross Dellinger, that means there must be new evidence in order to file that, right? So you can't just, it's not an appeal. They're not appealing with the same evidence to a different, judge, jury, whoever. They're applying for a reconsideration, which supposedly means that they have new evidence regarding his 2022 season at Ferris State, which of course is, the year in question, whether or not he should have received a medical red shirt. So on that one, again, Stephen Willis, for those of y'all who follow him, still seems very confident that he will be the starting quarterback for the Rebels next fall. So again, that one seems to be far from over, but initially, at least, he's been denied now a couple times, it seems, or I don't know if this was the first denial, and the ones leading up to this were sort of just delays in the process, but he's been denied for now. So we'll see where that one goes. Again, yeah, sign up for the newsletter and we'll be keeping tabs on it. And that one, I do believe that was like NCAA directly, right? So they're appealing to the NCAA additional year. The NCAA said no. The Bediako stuff was basically outside of the NCAA's hands and went to a judge, right, in Alabama. And he was deemed ineligible. So will no longer be able to play. The temporary restraining order has been revoked. I think he ended up playing 5 games, but he's done for the rest of the year. And on that front, you mentioned the NCAA getting some wins, perhaps. Like I said, that one was not really the NCAA, but Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, of course, had something to say about it, saying, quote, "Common sense won around today," and then went on to beg Congress for help. So again, shout out our boy Stephen Willis. His conspiracy theory appears to be true in that the NCAA is kind of just hoping that Congress does something and hoping all these various lawsuits and sort of craziness going around with eligibility will force Congress's hand, because the NCAA is kind of powerless with a lot of this stuff, it seems. But they got a judge on their side today, and for the record, I think it was the right move. I mean, what are we doing? The guy played at Alabama, declared for the NBA draft, got drafted. I know he didn't play in the NBA or whatever, but guys, come on. It's different than the European players coming back to play. And I don't think those guys should be able to play either, personally, but I understand that argument a lot better than I understand the argument of a kid who went to college, played, declared for the NBA draft, and was drafted, and now decides he wants to come back. That to me is very cut and dry. And he's done for the year. So that crazy saga seemingly is behind us, and Nate Oates and the Bama team will be moving on without him for the rest of the year.
So my question is, you might have addressed this. I don't think you did. Is there any possibility that he can come back? Like, will Alabama appeal? Like, what does that look like? Or was this like cut and dry, it's done? And I also don't understand, before you answer that, like, why did we not get an injunction on this? Why did he just start playing? Why was he allowed to start playing and continue in games? Does Alabama now have to forfeit those games? Obviously, I mean, I don't think they will, but like, why did he just get to start playing? Why was an injunction not put down so that he cannot play? Because now this is a complete mess where you've got games where this kid played in, but he's not eligible, and he was not eligible to play really in the first place. So like, what does that look like?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I do not think that there's an appeal here. My very rudimentary understanding of the legalities here were basically Bediako returned to school, enrolled in classes. Alabama had an empty roster spot, so they put him back on the team. He got from the, Alabama friendly judge a temporary restraining order that allowed him to play. Initially, he was not eligible. So he I don't think based on NCAA rules was eligible. He got the temporary restraining order, which allowed him to play while the court process took place. And I think when not today, but late last week, it officially, took place. He had his hearing and the judge denied his claims and ruled him ineligible.
Yeah, that's dumb. So anyway, he does not get to play anymore. That's good. I think that's the right decision. I'm not like in the NCAA's corner at all. I think it's a joke of an organization at this point. We've talked about that many times on this show. But I'm with Charlie Baker on this one. This common sense won here, and I'm glad the NCAA got a W on this one. Trinidad Chambliss, I could kind of go either way on that, frankly. I mean, I get where Ole Miss fans are coming from. Like, hey, TJ Finley, on what grounds does TJ Finley get to play an 8th year or a 9th year of college football? Like, there's no justification, yet you're saying Trinidad Chambliss here he doesn't get to play, another year. That doesn't make any sense at all. And that goes for multiple other players. Joey Aguilar is going to be 25 or whatever next year. But if you're going to allow TJ Finley to play, like, why couldn't Joey Aguilar play? Why couldn't Trinidad Chambliss play? So yeah. I understand. And especially too, if I'm Ole Miss, look, I'm going to fight this tooth and nail. The year Trinidad Chambliss just had led you to the greatest season in Ole Miss history. And Pete Golding has built a very good roster, had one of the top portal classes for Ole Miss. So if you get him back, like, you got the guy who was the engine of this team and could potentially spur you on, to another run in 2026. So totally get why they are really trying to run that down and exhaust every possible option in order to get Trinidad back.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here to SEC baseball. We don't have to spend too much time on this, but we do want to mention this. Like, we're gonna talk about SEC baseball throughout the offseason. We love SEC baseball, the football offseason, but we love SEC baseball. We love talking about it. We love covering it. It's so much fun. There's so much passion behind SEC baseball. And so we will definitely be talking SEC baseball as we move through into the summer. So I want to talk a little bit about where we're at in the preseason. Okay. D1 baseball has, I believe it's 11 teams ranked in the top 25 that are from the SEC. So you've got LSU at number 2. They're the highest ranked SEC team. Number 1 is UCLA. LSU, defending national champs last year. Texas is at number 3. So just crazy. I mean, 2 Aggies here, right? So Schloss, he can stuff it. But put our bias aside, what he has done in Austin and now in his second year in Austin has Texas at number 3 to start the year. Like, it's undeniable. He's an incredible coach. He's done a great job. He did a great job at Texas A&M, and he brought that right to Austin. And Texas is, expected to be right in the thick of it for the national title going into year 2 of the Schloss era. Right behind Texas at number 4. This is surprising, but very interesting. And I think we could probably start here, and then I can go through the rest of them. Mississippi State at number 4 is where D1 baseball has them ranked. Mississippi State, for the last couple of years, as we know, they've kind of fallen a little bit. They weren't playing as well, which is why they fired their coach last year. And now you bring in Brian O'Connor from UVA. And Brian O'Connor, for SEC fans who do not know, Virginia. He is Virginia baseball, period. He basically built that program. Hammer and I, for those who watch the show often, you guys know that we are from Charlottesville, Virginia. We grew up there. For half our lives. The other half early half was spent in Texas. And then our family still lives in Charlottesville. So we actually got there just before Brian O'Connor took the job at the University of Virginia. So we saw his entire career up until the last year. That guy built the UVA baseball program to what it is, going to Omaha, winning the ACC, all that stuff. Someday he will get a statue outside of Davenport Field at UVA. So I want to start there a little bit, Hammer. Do you think that Brian O'Connor, I mean, that is basically all Brian O'Connor for that Mississippi State number 4 ranking and what he was able to do in the portal, bring UVA guys in and his reputation. Do you think that's going to hold up in year 1 with Brian O'Connor at Mississippi State?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we'll see. Are they really the number 4 team in the country? I don't know that for sure, but I would say with O'Connor leading the way there, that's a top 10 to top 15 program year in and year out. And with the way college athletics are now, college baseball is no different. There's, you can just turn a roster around very quickly. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, maybe number 4 is a little bit high, but at the same time, look, last season, Mississippi State was good. They made the postseason. They did not host a regional, but I think they were a 2 seed, if I'm not mistaken. And they finished 40-23. So they got to 40 wins in the SEC. Like, they were a good team last year. And from what I've read, he was able to keep some of the main players from that 2025 team, including second team All-American third baseman Ace Reese, which is just like the best third baseman college baseball player name you could imagine. So, and he's got a couple of other like third team All-Americans back as well with Noah Sullivan. I'm going to butcher this guy's. His first name is Gehrig. His last name's Fry. I don't know how to pronounce it, but if his first name's Gehrig, so he's obviously a beast. And and then he brought a few transfers from Virginia as well. So again, I'm not going to pretend I know the roster up and down, but I don't see any reason why they are not a top 10, top 15 program this season and moving forward with O'Connor. So yeah, I think, you got to be pumped in Starkville to kind of return to glory after their sort of roller coaster last few years post national title.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I think they're going to be good pretty much right away, which is interesting. We're having a little bit of trouble with our live stream on Twitter right now on our feed and on Stephen Willis's feed. Not sure what's going on. StreamYard is completely screwing us right now. So we're going to try to get that figured out. But at the end of the day, we may just post a live show once it's over, at the recorded part of it on our Twitter. So forgive us. Sorry about that. StreamYard did an update recently, and it looks like they updated it into the ground. So we're going to work on that. But apologies to those who typically do watch us on Twitter. So, all right. Yes. So let's continue here just quickly on SEC baseball before we get to SEC basketball here. Want to run through what preseason in the SEC it looks like from the writer's perspective, power rankings. This is from the Tennessean. Tennessean has LSU at number 1, Texas number 2. Makes sense with the rankings we just saw. Arkansas number 3. That makes sense too. I think Arkansas is going to be dang good. That's a darn good baseball program. Mississippi State at number 4. And this is what they say on that. Bulldogs are somewhat volatile given a new coach in Brian O'Connor and a lot of transfers, but they returned several key pieces, and that starts with SEC Player of the Year favorite Ace Reese, the player you mentioned, right? He's absolute stud. Yeah. So they got them at 4, Auburn at 5, Tennessee at number 6. You got Vandy at number 7. You got Kentucky at 8, Florida at 9, Georgia at 10, Alabama at 11, Ole Miss 12, A&M 13, Oklahoma 14, South Carolina 15, Mizzou 16. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? You're reading down those and you're like, Oklahoma, like not that bad. Texas A&M ranked top 25 D1 baseball, okay? 13th in the SEC preseason, right? D1 has them in the top 25. Ole Miss 12 ahead of Texas A&M, Alabama, all of these teams. I mean, Florida had an up and down season last year. Who knows what's going to happen they had Kevin O'Sullivan, who had that leave of absence earlier this season or in the off season, but he's back from the leave of absence. So like, what does that look like, right? Was the off season a tumultuous off season? Florida's up and down year last year. Are they able to come back and have a pretty good year this year? So I'm just fascinated by all this. Is there anything in that stands out to you in terms of these teams? Or are you just excited for the season?
I'm just excited for the season. I think going on that power ranking list from the Tennessean, as well as the top 25 from D1 baseball, to me, there's probably sort of a tier one, right, with your LSU, Texas, Mississippi State, Arkansas, maybe Auburn in there. And then there's a lot of really good teams below them. To me, kind of all the way until that like 13 line in that power rankings. I don't really see Mizzou, South Carolina, or Oklahoma being much of a threat. You're right. Oklahoma's not a bad program. I think, they had a good year last year, but year in, year out in the SEC, it's really tough. But from 13 on, you mentioned A&M's power ranked 13 by the Tennessean. They're ranked number 25 in D1 baseball. Ole Miss is not ranked in D1 baseball, power ranked slightly ahead, but that's a great program. And I obviously would not be surprised to see them in the mix for, top 25 throughout the season, for certainly making the postseason, et cetera. So I think there's a lot of unknowns, especially with the transfer portal. And, just to real quick, obviously this is, biased, but I'm very interested to see what A&M does, right? For those of y'all that don't remember, last year, so 2 years ago, A&M goes to the College World Series final, loses to Tennessee in 3 games, barely. And then Schloss leaves, and that whole thing goes down. And they hire internally Mike Early, and A&M goes from preseason number 1 in 25 to not even making the postseason. So a lot of folks around Aggie land thought he would be one and done. Let's get rid of this guy. Trev Alberts in the athletic department stick by him at least for another year, but he is clearly on the hottest of hot seats. So you start the year ranked 25. It seems like, even if you're, there's, I think there's nine or 10 teams ranked ahead of him in D1 baseball. So yeah, you're ranked in the top 25, but you're considered a middle of the pack to lower end of the pack SEC team. And I don't know what the, line of demarcation is for whether Early keeps his job or not, but this is a big year for him, and a big year to, show that he's the right man for the job, because last year he didn't show that at all. And it's, I thought they were going to get rid of him. I thought they probably should get rid of him, but I totally understand why they didn't, right? They know him better than I do. The players love him. 1 season, things went poorly. We'll see what you can do moving forward, but it's kind of put up or shut up time. And again, I don't know what that looks like on the field in terms of wins and losses, but he's certainly coaching for his job. And so I'm just interested to see, if he can turn things around and put his, fingerprints on the program, or if he's just in over his head.
Yeah, we'll see. He's done pretty good on the recruiting trail, did pretty good in the transfer portal. He's got Gavin Grohovac coming back. Grohovac hit a bomb in an exhibition game the other day. So there are pieces there, and Texas A&M, people are, I think, cautiously optimistic about A&M, right? Yeah. Like looking back last year, they went on that, they had it, right? Like something was wrong. It didn't make sense. Early, I think, deserves a lot of blame for it. But they won 2 or 3 straight series in the middle of last season against like top 5 teams.
Yeah, against the big dogs. Yeah,
big dogs.
Beat Arkansas, beat LSU.
Yeah. So it was there. He just didn't pull it out of them, right? Like at the end of the day, like it didn't get done. I think this year he's got to at least be top 20, maybe top 15, and show significant progress. You're either going to have to host a regional, or at the very least make the postseason and make a run if you don't, end up hosting.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think if he's in the mix to host a regional, he's probably safe, but I'm with you. It'll probably depend too a little bit on what goes down in that regional.
True.
If he's a 2 seed in somebody's regional and they go 0-2 and done, I could see him getting bounced.
Yeah, I agree with that. One thing to mention here, this is so SEC Unfiltered, Chris Phillips. I'm sure many of you who watch us also watch a lot of the SEC Unfiltered stuff and what he and the Bear do. But I saw a clip of Chris Phillips the other day. He said he's picking Texas A&M to win the national title. So I know, but I kind of get it. It's a dark horse pick. Like, people were picking A&M to win the national title last year. They were number one preseason because they had all this talent coming back. Early was able to keep most of the roster together, right? You had Jace Lavalette. Like, there was a lot of reason to pick the Aggies last year. But the Aggies this year, again, like, they still have a lot of talent, which is, I think, where the top 25 ranking is coming from, even though, based on last season, they don't deserve that, coming into 2026. But with the amount of talent that A&M has, that I think that's where that 25 ranking comes from, and they have enough talent to win a national title. So, yeah, it's a dark horse pick. It's definitely going out on the limb from the SEC Unfiltered guys, but it could happen. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So,
yeah, no, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but that would be a big, a big surprise. Let's just put it that way. The one thing I'll say, and I'm sorry for Arkansas fans, I just have to get this dig in there, but one thing I think we can confidently say is that Arkansas will be really good, and they will lose in terribly heartbreaking fashion, either in a super regional in Fayetteville or in Omaha. It's just bound to happen.
Come on, man. Why you got to do that to them?
And hey,
season. Everybody's got hope, man.
Well, as I say, hopefully, they get over the hump this year and actually win it, and they can use this as, clown me for saying that and use this as the start of their, championship social media video or whatever. That's fine. But it just, it feels like something you can set your clock to. Is Arkansas is going to be darn good. They'll be right in the thick of the SEC race. They're going to host a regional. They're going to win the regional. And then either in the Supers or the College World Series, something terrible is going to happen that you would never expect. Like last season, the poor outfielder that made, God bless him, but it was terrible. And that's like the fifth time that's happened to them in the last, 15 years. So
it's all sports too. It's not just baseball. So but it has been especially baseball. So yeah, I'm with you. Hogs fans, we're not rooting against you, but it has been rough, as you all know. So hopefully one day the Razorbacks will get over the hump. You got an incredible program there. You won a lot of games. You just got to get over the hump and stop making the worst possible plays. It's cursed. It's so cursed.
They're cursed. Yeah. If there's any college athletics program in America that can claim that they're cursed, as much as I would like to say A&M, has an argument there, I think Arkansas takes the cake for just horrible, gut-wrenching, kick to the nuts losses across all sports.
I agree with that. So, all right, let's now go to SEC basketball. Let's talk SEC basketball here for about 10 or so minutes. We got the basketball dabbing right there down below on the Cryon. We got a couple of interesting games tonight. So we got Alabama, Ole Miss going on. We got Florida, Georgia, and we've got Mizzou, Texas A&M, and then we've got Tennessee and Mississippi State. That's it for those games. And then we got some more games coming up on Saturday. So 4 games tonight. And we've got a lot of interesting things going on. Okay, Florida's making a run. Florida's looking good. Florida 8-2 at the top of the conference, 17-6 overall. They're at 3 wins in a row. They took down A&M, who was at the top of the conference, to start out conference play, or rose to the top during conference play pretty quickly. They were undefeated up until Florida took them down. So you got Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M, and then Vanderbilt. Those are your top 5 teams right now in the SEC. Alabama sitting there at number 6, Mizzou at number 7, and then Tennessee 6-4, and then Georgia sitting there right in the middle at 5-5. Auburn 5-6 right now, hasn't been the greatest year so far. 14-10. That's maybe kind of like a Texas A&M baseball situation where you're thinking, first-year coach succeeding, a coach that he coached with. In this case, it's Stephen Pearl, the son of Bruce Pearl. But I don't know. Does he last another year after this? I don't know about that, especially with the talent they had coming back. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, Oklahoma, South Carolina, they are all bringing up the caboose, falls off a table after Auburn at 5-6. So I'm interested to see, going back to our alma mater, Texas A&M here, 7-3, Buckyball was really hot to start, hot to trot to start. The AP and the coaches refused to rank them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was for good reason. Now I think it was kind of like a wait and see thing, and the Aggies now have lost 2 straight. And I mean, they played Alabama tight. That was a close game. So,
yep.
Can't necessarily say, that the Aggies weren't right in that game. They were right to the very end. But yes, they've lost a couple games here now. Recently, they've dropped to 4th in the SEC. So I think it's still kind of wait and see here. Florida, though, looking like they could make a run in March again, just like they did last year. I believe they're the highest ranked team right now in the SEC at number 14. So this is not like last year in the SEC where you had, some teams really high in the rankings. I mean, last year considered one of the best seasons for SEC basketball in history.
Yeah.
This year, not as much, right? We got some good teams, but nothing like what we saw last year. So give me your thoughts on where we're at with SEC basketball, as we move toward March and really hitting crunch time here.
Yeah, I think, if you're talking about race for the conference, I agree. It seems like Florida probably, I would be surprised if they're not, 1 or 2 in the regular season by the end of it. Kentucky also, I know they really got off to a slow start. There was a lot of chatter, as there will be in Lexington, about Mark Pope, but he seems to have kind of righted the ship. They're 8-3 in conference. They've won 3 in a row. So I don't want to speak too soon. And I know, 17-7 and 8-3 in conference is still not up to their standard, but it seems like things are trending in the right direction there. Kentucky's favorite son, Calipari, also seems like he's got things, in a pretty good spot with Arkansas, right? They seem like a very good team, a solid tournament team at this point. Vanderbilt also surprising, right? I mean, they were kind of in the complete dumps under Jerry Stackhouse. And I can't remember the coach's name, but this is his second year there, and they've been good both years that he's been there. So Vanderbilt is good. So they seem like they're kind of, I would say solid in the tournament there. And then, beyond that, I think A&M, Tennessee, Bama, and maybe Mizzou are kind of fighting for, I would say, I don't know what Lenardi's been saying, but those teams to me kind of feel like they're on the bubble. You brought up A&M earlier. Their record is much better, but the fact that the AP wasn't ranking them, they've dropped 2 in a row in conference. It maybe seems like, their record is better than they actually are at this point. So we'll see what they can do. Like you said, they've got Missouri tonight. They also go to Nashville on Saturday. So 2 big games for A&M. I think if they lose these 2 and you've dropped 4 in a row and you're sitting at 7-5 in conference, then they really will need to turn things around. So ideally would split those for the Aggies. And then Tennessee, I think, also probably kind of in that boat. They're 16-7, 6-4 in the SEC. And Bama is the same way, 16-7 overall, 6-4 in the SEC. Both teams that are probably tournament teams, but you got to finish strong. And certainly neither one of those teams this year has been as good as they've been in years past. They're unranked at the moment. They're kind of fluttering around the top half of the SEC, but again, not barring a late run here, they're going to need to win some games to be in the thick of it in March.
Definitely. Most recent, Joe Lenardi, he's got Georgia as one of the last teams, last 4 byes. He's got last 4 in Texas as one of the last 4 in. And then he's got one of the first 4 out, Mizzou. So Mizzou got a little bit of work to do on that bubble line. He's got right now 10 teams from the SEC in. Excuse me. Is that right? Yeah, 10.
Wow. That surprises me.
That really surprises me as well. That tells you that some other conferences are also having some down years, right? Like,
yeah.
This is I don't know if this is a down year necessarily for the SEC, but it's probably like an average year.
Yeah, certainly back to the norm at least.
The mean,
Yeah.
It's an average year for the SEC. So if you're getting 10 teams in from the SEC, that tells you, and also the two top that Lenardi has right now, 10 from the Big Ten, 10 from the SEC. So big dog's going to eat. But ACC, he's got 8. He's got 7 from the Big 12, and then the West Coast 3, Mountain West 3, Big East 3. So I think that tells you that the other conferences are having a bit of a down year, versus their norm, because the SEC getting 10 teams in on an average year is pretty surprising to me as well. I would have bet 7 to 8 teams with where we're at. So
yeah, I would think so, but we'll see. Like I said, I mean, it's conference play from here on out, right? So everybody's playing each other, and every team that we just kind of mentioned, I guess if he's got Georgia in, Texas in, Missouri on the bubble or out, everybody from that kind of line of demarcation forward controls their own destiny. So win a couple games here. Can you finish above 500 in conference play? And then you probably got a good chance.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, let's get into, I'm excited to do this. We're going to do our impact transfers. So we've been scouring, what happened with the transfer portal, and, Portal King, Lane Kiffin at LSU. We got Ole Miss had a great class as well. So we've been looking through the transfer portal rosters, and we're going to go through and do our impact transfers. So Hammer's going to do his impact transfers for tonight, which is he's got 5 that he's going to go through. I'll go through 5 next week. And going to go, some of them are big time, right? But not all of them, right? I know you looked at, a couple who, might be off the beaten path a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I tried not to just go down the 247 rankings and pick the highest 5 rated. So there's definitely some on there that would be open for you next week. Would you like to select them, or we can, leave them off? Maybe we're doubting them. I don't know. But just as an example, the number 1 overall player in the portal, Sam Leavitt to LSU, is not on my list. So he would be a fine pick, but I left him open to you. If you want to take him next week, I've got plenty of upper end guys. So I just figured I would leave him off, but LSU fans, fear not. I think he's a good pickup. So
Sam who?
Yeah, Sam Levine or something.
Avril? Is that the guy married to Avril?
I think so, yeah.
All right. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah. But anyway, so I tried to leave you some, and tried to obviously, the higher ranked guys are easy to zero in on. So there's plenty of those on my list, but also, hopefully a few that are at least a little bit further down than, just the top 10 or 15 guys in the portal.
Cool. All right. I'm getting sick of holding this mic, but I'm going to have to do it for the rest of this show because I'm worried that if I take it out of my computer that I'm not going to have audio anymore. So
possible.
I'm going to hold up my tiny little news mic for the rest of the show. And then I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it for the next shows. But I didn't think far enough in advance that I would have to hold this for an entire hour to complete my bit. All right. Your first SEC impact transfer of 2026 up on the screen there, Jordan Seaton, LSU. So give me a little bit about Jordan Seaton and why he is your number 1 impact transfer for 26.
Yeah. So of course I mentioned Leavitt at the outset, the number 1 overall player. I think, Seaton's ranked number 4. So he's not far behind. I chose him because LSU's offensive line was so bad. Right. I think both looking at LSU's history at quarterback recently, as well as Lane Kiffin's track record, I think Sam Leavitt is good, but I think there's a lot of guys you could kind of plug in there that would perform well, especially in a Kiffin offense. LSU's offensive line has been really, really poor. So I went with Seaton, who was a consensus 5-star coming out of high school. He started 2 years at Colorado at left tackle. He was a freshman All-American in 24 and a second-team All-Big 12 selection in 25. So I don't, look, I'm not a draft guy. I don't know enough to know if he's got a one-and-done year at LSU and he goes top 10, or if he's more of a, 2-year guy. But I think very clearly LSU picked up a starting left tackle in the portal, which, again, given where their offensive line was, is probably as impactful, if not more so, than a quarterback, just because how effective is your quarterback going to be if you can't protect him, as we just saw last year with Garrett Nussmeier, who I still think is a pretty good quarterback, but he had no time. So I think that is an extremely important pickup for LSU to get a little bit of help on the O-line and protect Levitt.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I mean, yeah, he's total stud and freshman All-American, like you said, 2024. And so coming into LSU, Sam Levitt's going to need somebody in front of him, right? And the LSU offensive line, that was a big problem in the Brian Kelly era. So to bring in a big, a big guy in the trenches like that is first order of business for Lane Kiffin. And so, and even, I'm pretty sure he committed. No, he went to the portal late, right?
He went late. Yeah,
that's right. Okay. So he was a good late addition for Lane Kiffin. All right. Yeah. Number 2 on your list here of your impact transfers, Cam Coleman from Auburn to Texas. Yeah, that he was, even though he was not the number 1 player in the transfer portal, he was the number 1 player in the transfer portal to me. I get it, QB, right? You got to have a QB, and QB is the most important position on the field. But Cam Coleman, he's got everything that you want in a wide receiver. His, the ceiling is the roof for him, as Michael Jordan would say. So, yeah, number 2, totally get why. And especially, too, right, Arch Manning playing much better towards the end of the season, as our friend Mike Huseman likes to remind us. Going into 2026, for him to have a weapon like Cam Coleman, big deal. I think that could be one of the better QB and wide receiver duos that we see in 2026.
100%. And I think, well, I'll just start with Coleman first and say that, yes, I think he's going to have a big year at Texas. In 2 years at Auburn, he had 93 catches, 1,300 yards, and 13 TDs combined. Reminder, that was the Hugh Freeze offense with Peyton Thorne and then Jackson Arnold. So what can he do with a better offensive system, a better play caller, and a better quarterback? I think he can do quite well. Obviously, you brought up just his measurables, his talent. He's made a lot of highlight catches in his time at Auburn. Like he's a guy who, if it's one-on-one, throw him the ball, he can go up and get it, which part of the reason I think that'll be so impactful for Texas and Arch is they didn't have that guy this year. Ryan Wingo is really good. He's not that type of a receiver. And I think that was, shown this year is, again, Wingo is good, and you don't want him to get the ball in space because he's as fast as anybody, but he's just not the big body, again, kind of one-on-one, dominating half of the field, dominating the attention of the safety and corner receiver that Coleman is. And so I think it's kind of twofold. Not only do I think Coleman will have a big season just because of the type of a player he is, but I think it really opens things up for Wingo, who will no longer be getting the majority of the attention. And I think that's a spot he can thrive in. Again, just based on what we saw last year, where when he was kind of the main guy, he was inconsistent at best, right? He had some good games, and then he had some games he was disappearing. And, a lot of his stuff was kind of in the screen game, which is fine. But again, that's not really what you look for in your number 1 guy, is screens behind the line of scrimmage. But if you've got Cam Coleman on the other side, who's getting doubled, well, then, maybe a screen to the backside works a little bit better with the eye candy that Coleman will draw. So I think this is Sark and Texas went all in, and this was kind of the linchpin of that class. And Lord knows what they're paying him, but he's probably going to have a very big year, and I think they will believe it's money well spent at the end of 2026.
Yeah, I would think the same thing. I am interested here. This is it's on this storyline, but we've seen over the last couple of years, there's big flashes from the Sark offense.
Yeah.
But there's also there's high highs and low lows. And there's deserts, right? Especially Texas fans will tell you this, right? The Quinn Ewers era, they were ready to bench him. They were sick of him because there was long stretches, there were deserts, and there were games like that Arkansas game a couple years ago where Arkansas had no business being on the field with the University of Texas, and they beat them 20-10, and they had to eke out a win in the fourth quarter. Like, give me a break. People were scoring tons of points on that Arkansas defense. Why is Sarkisian, this offensive genius, with all these weapons, all this talent, 5 stars all over the field, you name it, scoring 20 points against Arkansas, right? Like, so with Cam Coleman, with these offensive weapons, with this revamped offense, it's kind of put up or shut up, right? Year 2 of Arch Manning, everybody's again, Heisman favorite, blah, 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 right? Like Texas for the national championship, all this stuff. The hype train is back. It's coming back, right? All right, it's time to put up. The Sarkisian offense needs to produce at a level that we really haven't seen it produce at in 3 years. And I know they've made the playoffs, like they've had good teams, made runs, but like the standard at Texas is national championships, whether that's fair or not. That is the standard. And so they have not reached that yet. They haven't even reached a national title game under Steve Sarkisian. So they went all in for Cam Coleman. They even told some of these other kids, Parker Livingstone, get the heck out of here. You're not good enough to play here. All right, well, it's time to put up. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, number 4 on your list, impact transfers. Byron Brown coming
number
from
3.
USF. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip it? Where is it?
We skipped
all right,
yeah,
number 4 is Byron Brown, but number 3, darn it, man. I got to talk to the producer. Isaiah Horton, Texas A&M, comes over from Alabama, and then previously was at Miami as well. Isaiah Horton, big-time wide receiver, coming to Texas A&M. He will replace Casey Concepcion, who had a fantastic season for the Aggies. He's going to be a high draft pick in the NFL draft in April. So give me a little bit about why Isaiah Horton is your number 3, not number 4 impact player.
Yeah. So again, he's very highly ranked in the portal rankings, number 11 overall, according to 247. His statistics have been, I guess, kind of similar to Coleman in a way, like good, but not amazing. Last year at Bama, he had 42 catches, 511 yards, 8 touchdowns. The year prior at Miami, 56 catches, 616 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So again, very solid numbers, but not eye-popping. I mean, obviously that's why he's a 5th-year player now. He's played 4 years. He'd be in the pros if those were a little better. So it's not necessarily, I guess, absolute lock that he's going to go off. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he repeats, somewhere in that range of statistics in 2026, just given kind of the way A&M's offense runs and the weapons that they will have. However, I think he's such a big impact for the Aggies in particular. 1, you mentioned Casey Concepcion is gone, but 2, and we brought this up ad nauseum to begin last season, and then A&M kind of silenced the narrative, but then it's came to bite them, I think, in the last 2 games against Texas and Miami, in that they didn't have a big body wide receiver, right? Yep. Horton is, I think, 6'3", 6'4". He's over 200 pounds.
6'4", 208.
Yeah, so he's a big body receiver that can go up and get a ball in one-on-one coverage. When the field shrinks in the red zone, he's a guy that you can throw it to. And they just didn't really have that this year with Concepcion and Craver, who were phenomenal. They're smaller, quicker, kind of slot-ish type guys. And Horton just presents a very different type of receiver and a type of player for defenses to have to account for than they saw this year. So I think that will be really, really helpful. Again, I don't think Isaiah Horton is Cam Coleman, but similar, body type, similar style of, okay, if this guy's one-on-one, I can throw it up to him and we've got a good chance. And not to say that Craver and Concepcion can't do that, but it's just a little easier when you're 6'4", 208 and have a big wingspan as opposed to somebody who's like 5'10", 180. So I think he will be a great addition to the Aggie offense. I think he will help them in the red zone. I mean, if we could get 8 touchdowns, or if the A&M could get 8 touchdowns out of him, sign me up. So totally. Again, if he just repeats what he did for Bama, I think that's a big get for A&M, because I do think Craver will probably be the the focal point and probably, get the most targets, lead them in yardage, but Horton will be that guy on third and medium to long or down in the red zone that you can turn to. With Craver and Bethel Roman, who do you account for? So I think Horton could have a good year for A&M. And I love this pickup for the Aggies.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad that I think Mike Elko recognized this, right? He went after Cam Coleman hard.
Yeah.
He, went after, and then he gets Isaiah Horton, right, as kind of a consolation prize, which is, if that's a consolation prize, that's a pretty dadgum good consolation prize.
Yeah, you take it.
Sure. But I think he recognized that this year, that it did end up coming back to bite the Aggies late, like you said. And we were worried about that in the preseason, right? And it seemed like, okay, well, where are the Aggies going to get that size in the passing game if they need it? That was going to come from the tight end slot, right? You had Borkashire, you had Theo, and you had Amari Niblack who came in. And they were good. They were okay, but they weren't the threats that you need in the red zone, on a first down, right? Like at the sticks. Somebody to go up and be able to put down 1 foot, right, and get a first down when you really need it on a 3rd and 8, right, late in the game or something like that. That really didn't happen, or even a seam over the middle, right? Like Amari Niblack did nothing, just like he did nothing at Alabama or at Texas before. Tons of talent, got the body type. I don't know what it is. It just didn't work, right? He didn't produce at A&M. And then the tight ends, they were okay, but they did miss. And we said this in the preseason, Noah Thomas, right? Like, are the Aggies going to miss the size of somebody like Noah Thomas? And while the passing game was great, for the most part this season, they did miss that size. So I'm interested to see how Isaiah Horton fits in with this offense with so many other weapons, little jitterbug weapons, Mario Craver, Bussy, if he can break out, Ashton Bethel Roman, who had some breakout, games this year, and then add in, somebody like Isaiah Horton with some size. I think it really is going to add something to this Aggie offense and a target for Marcel Reed that he frankly lacked in 2025.
Right. Yeah, a bit of a safety blanket.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Now number 4, Byron Brown, Auburn, comes over from USF. He is going to be the QB for Alex Golesh in year 1 on the Plains. I'm with you. This is a big deal that, whether it works out or not, one way or the other, right? Like Alex Golesh is hinging year 1 on Byron Brown, his QB at USF. So I'm interested to see how it works out. Give me your reasoning as to why he is number 4.
I mean, look, I'm a Byron Brown believer. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean that I think Auburn is going to win 9-10 games next year and suddenly be in the mix of the SEC or college football playoff race. However, again, let's put this in context. They have had Peyton Thorne and Jackson Arnold for the last 3 years. Byron Brown is a significant upgrade from both of those guys, right? I don't care the competition he was playing. I think there could be some, slight learning curve, but the dude also went into Florida and beat him. They only put up 19 points, but he beat him.
Right.
And he's a 3-year starter at USF. He knows the offense. You mentioned he obviously, Golesh has coached him for 4 years now. And so there's not going to be a learning curve. He's going to know the offense. And I just think he's going to bring a lot of stability to Auburn that they desperately have needed. And he's a guy that's produced, man. I mean, he's been a starter for 3 years. 1 year got cut short due to injury. But the 2 years that he was a full-time starter and played in every game, he's right around a 65% completion percentage, went over 3,000 yards in both of those seasons. And his touchdown to interception ratio in 2025 was 28-7, and in 2023 was 26-11. Add to that, he runs the ball. 2023, he had 809 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns. And this past year, he had 1,000 yards rushing and 14 touchdowns. So this dude had 40 total touchdowns last year. Again, I don't necessarily think he's going to repeat that, but do I think he's a guy that can get you 25 to 30 touchdowns in the SEC? I do. And that is a significant upgrade from what Auburn has had at quarterback. So I love this pickup for Auburn. I think, again, I don't expect Auburn to win, 10 games this fall, but they will have a good quarterback, and he will keep them in games, and he will win them some games, I think. I mean, I think he's a good player. He's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. He knows the offense. He can run. He can pass. He's going to be good.
Yeah, and something to mention here too is that I think it's five wide receivers are coming over from USF to Auburn. One running back coming over from USF to Auburn. So his offense, right? Like all of his weapons, he's got. He has worked with these guys in practices, in games, right? He's got a lot of time, right, with these guys. So he knows their tendencies. They know his tendencies. They know Golesh's offense. So as long as they are good enough, right, as long as they have the talent and the speed and all that sort of stuff, which is a question, we don't know. Let's see, right? It's a lot of 3-stars.
Yeah.
That's not a denigration of these guys. I mean, there's plenty of 3-stars who have figured it out and made it in the SEC. So we'll see, but that is interesting, basically, that you are taking the USF offense and putting it now in Auburn for Alex Golesh. And there's familiarity. That's the word I was looking for, familiarity with Alex Golesh, with all these guys as well, right? So, like, it could be, to some degree, you've already got a leg up on some of your competition because these guys know the offense. They know their coach. The quarterback has worked with the wide receivers and the running backs. And so you may just be, at least right out of the gate, have a bit of an advantage on some of these other teams that are trying to get their feet under them, right, in terms of how they're running their offense or what have you. So watch out for that at the start of the year, early on in those first couple of games for Auburn, game 2, 3, 4, until teams start to get their feet under them. So I haven't looked at Auburn's schedule yet, but could be an upset there early on, right? If there's a big one on their schedule, which I'm sure there is, there always is.
Well, they get Baylor week 1, so it'll be Lagway against Byron Brown.
Be interesting.
Yeah, but hey, like I said, I'm not expecting Auburn to be a world beater next year, but I think they have significantly upgraded at quarterback, and I think he's going to have a very solid season. Like top half of the SEC quarterback, I think he can easily be. And again, for Auburn, that's great. That is great.
I'm with you. Agreed. All right. 5. Number 5 here. 5. Whatever I'm doing. 5. Lance Hurd. Offensive tackle, goes from Tennessee to Kentucky. Also began his career at LSU. So he's around the block a little bit here now, but he lands in Lexington. I mean, that's an absolutely massive get for Will Stein. Also very impressed that you have not 1, but 2 offensive tackles here on your list. The game is won in the trenches, and Biscuits and SEC recognizes that. Lance Hurd, number 5 on your list for Kentucky. That is a big deal.
It is. Similar thought process here to why I had Jordan Seaton at number 1. And as you just mentioned, it's because this game is won in the trenches. And Lance Hurd, I think, he's rated number 27 overall in the portal, but he's a multi-year starter in the SEC at left tackle, and he's going to Kentucky. That's awesome for them, right? For Will Stein, for Big Blue Nation, you got a solid multi-year starter coming in at left tackle. He's a third-team All-SEC from this past season. He was a freshman All-American, or SEC All-Freshman team, in 2023 at LSU, where he played but didn't start a ton of games, but whatever. He got recognized as a all freshman team, and again, a third team in 2025. So certainly he has room to improve, but you got a starting left tackle out of the portal, and you're Kentucky, right? You're not LSU or Alabama or whoever. Like, there was a lot of guys that wanted this dude, and he went to Kentucky. So I think it's a big get for Will Stein. I think it's a great, it's building momentum for them. And to get this guy on campus, shore up that side of your offensive line as you're trying to build a program is just a really, really big deal for again, for Kentucky and Will Stein to kind of get their tenure off on the right foot with a guy who's been around the block, knows the SEC, and you can count on to do a pretty darn good job to protect your quarterback's blind side.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm excited to see what it looks like in Kentucky this year. Okay, one thing, we're running out of time here, so quickly I want to go back just for a second to Byron Brown, because our friend Mike Huseman helped us out with the schedule here. Baylor, Florida, Vandy, Tennessee in the first 5 games for Auburn. Look out.
Fun.
Yeah, fun. But also, I mean, hey, look, if Tennessee is looking for a new quarterback, if they have to break in whoever it's going to be, right? Like if it's not Joey Aguilar, they're breaking in a new quarterback. That is for sure one that I'm watching and circling based on what I just said.
I know. That's a good exercise. Honestly, I'm excited to talk about this more this offseason because Baylor, DJ Lagway, I don't know. Florida, John Summerall, the Georgia Tech transfer, I don't know. Vandy, no Pavia. I guess they're going with Jared Curtis. No Stowers. I don't know. And you just said Tennessee. Aguilar, does he play? Does he not? The rest of their team, I mean, we just talked. They just lost their starting left tackle. They lost some guys to the portal. I mean, Tennessee, we'll talk about this at length this offseason, I'm sure. But you look at those games for Auburn and you think, daggum, we could be 5-0. Or
will Auburn be 5-0? Is this hearing it here first?
Well, before when we pump the brakes a little bit, you look at it and you go, we could be 5-0. You also look at it and go, man, we could be 2-3. You know, 3-2. Like, yeah, who knows? But they're winnable games against big marquee programs. So
that's right.
As a great man once said, while the Winter Olympics are going on, great moments are born from great opportunity. And Auburn has that in their first 5 games. That is great. Those are some great opportunities to show people what they're all about under Alex Golesh.
That's what you have here tonight, boys. Great opportunity. All right. You do have an honorable mention. So tell us a little bit about your honorable mention here, who would have been number 6 on your list.
Austin Simmons, Mizzou. So he was rated, I can't remember, somewhere around 50 in the portal. It's totally fair because he didn't play much this year after the injury, and even before the injury, didn't look that good. But I kind of trust Drink at this point. I think he's done a really good job in the portal. Overall, he obviously, did a pretty good job with Pribula this past year, but just in general, Drink has done a very good job of getting guys out of the portal. And we talk about it a lot on this show, but what Lane Kiffin has done with quarterbacks, I inherently trust him. And he was all in on Austin Simmons, right? Obviously, Trinidad Chambliss took that job, and Lane made the right call to continue with Chambliss. How could you not? But
I give the credit to Pete Golding on that one.
True. But, coming into the year, Lane was very high on Austin Simmons. A lot of people in the media or other coaches you talked to liked Austin Simmons, just said, hey, he's a smart kid. Mm-hmm. He's got a great arm and had high expectations for him, right? Obviously, again, the injury happens, doesn't work out. That's okay. But I think he's got some good football in him. And I think Drink is a great coach. And I think, it's a good spot for him, right? Missouri, Drink's got a good track record. The offense there is usually pretty darn good. I think he could be good. So I think that was kind of a sneaky pickup for somebody who, had some hype coming into this year, but doesn't really have a lot of skins on the wall in terms of production, who could, have a surprisingly good season. I think Austin Simmons is a good candidate for that.
I would agree. I'm fascinated to see what he does in Columbia under Drink. Drink obviously was kind of looking after this, right? I mean, Pribula pretty quickly goes in the portal and is like, yeah, I'm out of here. So,
yeah.
Obviously Drink kind of said, I think we can do better. And so he found Austin Simmons and he thinks that's better. So I'm fascinated to see if that ends up being the case. So, all right. Did I freeze? Did you freeze? I don't know. Mike, help us out. Did Hammer freeze or did I freeze? Lovely. StreamYard has given us a lot of trouble tonight, so we will see what the heck is going on here. But anyway, all right, I'm just going to go for it, and we'll see if Hammer comes back. But complete and total destruction. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
You can hear me.
Mike says Hammer froze. Yeah, then you said I froze. Nobody knows what's going on. StreamYard is really screwing with us tonight, but I think we're back. So that was because most likely I needed to upload the new version of the Mike Leach Coach of the Week, which we will get to here shortly.
Oh, I got it down there. It should be in there.
No, I know, but I had to fix it because there was an F-bomb. There's an F-bomb.
There was. I was just going to let that ride.
I fixed it.
Okay, thank you.
The FCC will not be able to come after Biscuits and SEC Live for a John Gruden F-bomb that has nothing to do with us, okay? So I fixed it. But anyway, all right. So that is Hammer's impact transfers, his top 5 impact transfers coming into the 2026 season. We will do mine next week. To run down it again, Jordan Seaton to LSU, Cam Coleman to Texas, Isaiah Horton to A&M, Byron Brown, the quarterback, USF, heading to Auburn to play under his head coach, Alex Galesh, and then Lance Hurd going to Kentucky from Tennessee. So pretty solid list there. I'm looking forward to talking a little bit about my impact transfers next week. So, all right, we are at time here. Free football here at Biscuits and SEC. It is what we do every week. We can't keep a show to an hour, and we're at show 72, and we still can't do it. So we're just going to keep rolling as we always do. We are now, though, at our last 2 segments of the week. If you are new to Biscuits and SEC, we do these 2 segments on every single show. We love doing these. It's fun searching for them every single week. During the season, we've got a lot of content for our Mike Leach Coach of the Week, but during the offseason, not as much, although, we always get some baseball, good, press conference and some good baseball speak from coaches once we get to baseball season, and always from the basketball coaches. We've got some as well. But this week we went a little bit out of left field here because I just love this clip. But anyway, we love Coach Leach here. This is an homage to Coach Leach. It used to be called the Muschamp Coach of the Week, the Will Muschamp Coach of the Week. But Will Muschamp, while he was really kind of out of the game, he was in an off-field role for the Georgia Bulldogs for the last couple of years. He is now the defensive coordinator for the Texas Longhorns. So we wanted to have this be somebody who is outside of football, and Coach Leach, unfortunately, rest in peace, passed away sadly a few years ago, but he is the epitome of college football. The man was hilarious. I still watch plenty of his clips every single week. Or every single year, when they come up, or somebody talking about weddings or marriage or mascots or whatever, swing your sword. The pirate always comes to mind. This week's Mike Leach Coach of the Week, the 3rd rendition of the Mike Leach Coach of the Week, goes to John Gruden. He saw his ex-quarterback from the Raiders on the street randomly, and there happened to be somebody from Barstool filming him. So this is the interaction, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. So here it is.
Yeah, walking down San Francisco, I'm here for the Super Bowl, and I run into this guy. I mean, the last time I saw Rich Gannon, we were fighting on the sideline, man. How the hell are you?
I'm walking down the street. I'm minding my own business. I'm getting ready to go back to my hotel, and some guy's yelling at me. I think, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Somebody wants an autograph. More importantly, I'm in the Bay Area. Somebody's going to yell at me, go, the Raiders suck. And all of a sudden I turn around, he says, check the ball down. Throw it. Don't hold it. I'm like, wait a minute, I know that voice.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to the Oakland Coliseum. We're going to go revisit some of our greatest memories.
Dude, that place was special. Huh?
That was, wasn't it?
I love the place so much. The only thing that I get some chills sometimes is when I'm out there, Blue 85! Blue 85! And he's always going, no! Get the team for the Yankees casino, no!
We're playing Tennessee on Monday Night Football. He's going, easy. Hey, 98 Bunch Crunch. He goes, shut the Blue 85! You remember that?
Steve Wisniewski was like this. He goes,
Yeah.
what?
I love you, man.
I love you, buddy.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get together soon.
See you guys.
Yeah. What was your snap count? Let's hear it.
I had a good one, bro.
Let me hear it.
Sit. Blue 85! Blue 85! Hot!
Love you, Gannon.
That clip is incredible. It just keeps going. And I mean, were they playing bumper cars with each other or something? They just keep like running. They're just guys being guys, man.
I know. Yeah.
Just football guys.
Yeah, exactly. Just getting their hands on each other, just, dapping each other up. I love you. And then he, reliving memories. And then he goes, he's like, oh, love you. See ya. And then he goes, oh, who's your Snapchat?
I gotta get on back here, man. Tell me about Spider Y Banana.
I know. Yeah.
I cut that clip a little bit too early because the last like 4 seconds of that clip is Rich Gannon picks up a bag of like something that he was just shopping for or something. And he like turns around and goes, all right, man, I'll text you. And then he just starts walking down the street as if nothing happened. Like, can you imagine also just like being a fly on the wall or just someone walking down the street and like seeing that Coach Gruden is with Rich Gannon and they're doing like the old Blue 82.
I know.
And there's somebody filming them. Like, I mean, what a scene that must have been. So,
I mean, Gruden even
was great.
Up at one point, he goes, last time I saw Rich Gannon fighting on the sidelines.
I mean, the entire thing is gold. I mean, you can break down that clip, just the 1.5-minute clip or whatever it is. Just great stuff. And I know that Coach Leach would have appreciated that clip and absolutely loved it. Probably if, he probably would have seen Coach Gruden and, pulled his shirt or pulled his mask like he did during 2020 when he did that to Lane Kiffin. So anyway, that is your Mike Leach Coach of the Week. That is for Coach Gruden, his first win, Mike Leach Coach of the Week, and first even at all, period, of the Coach of the Week award here at Biscuits and SEC. So we will get him the trophy in the mail and the certificate in the mail in the next 5 years. I'm sure it will be proudly displayed at Barstool headquarters or whenever he gets his next head coaching job, which I hope to see him back in football someday, whether college or the NFL, if Roger Goodell gets his head out of his butt and allows him to come back into coaching. So, all right, let's go to our final segment. We do this every week as well. This is our Biscuit of the Week. We are Biscuits and SEC. We put it in our name because we love Southern food. We love Southern culture. And we love SEC football. So it just made sense to marry the two. So this is the number one podcast for people who love SEC football and biscuits. That is according to Time Magazine, which I just read last week. They did their podcast rankings.
They did.
We were number one in that category. So congratulations to us. The Biscuit of the Week this week, I put this one together. So I will discuss it here. This is from Frank's Restaurant, Frank's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They have been around since 1964. And, sometimes if we don't have one for the week from a fan submission or, from one of ours that we went out to get, I like to do a little bit of digging, do a little bit of research and go around the SEC footprint and see what I can find. This week I found Frank's in Baton Rouge. I want to hear from our friend Rivers Huey about Frank's. If she has been there, it's also a smokehouse. They've got a barbecue sausage, like a jalapeno sausage is what it looks like, with eggs that you can get to go with a biscuit and coffee. That one at the top there that's on their website. And I mean, look at that biscuit with the bacon and the egg and the cheese and everything. That biscuit is perfectly golden brown there on the top. Just incredible. And then on the right there, you can see just what their biscuits look like regularly. And then at the bottom there is just the restaurant. That's an old picture, a vintage picture of Frank's Restaurant there in Baton Rouge. So been around for a long time. If you are in Baton Rouge anytime soon, be sure to check out Frank's. And one of the reasons I picked this one here is because kind of an homage to the LSU national title. The baseball national title from last year in 2025. Heading into baseball season, LSU defending their title. It just felt right to go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana to check out Frank's.
I'm sure Lane Kiffin will be there shortly after watching this clip, and he'll hashtag just different.
I have no doubt, especially if they do yoga in the back room after the biscuits, because if they do hot yoga at Frank's, Frank, if you're out there listening, if you may want to start doing hot yoga in the back, biscuits and hot yoga. That's what I would suggest if you want Lane Kiffin to come to your restaurant. Also, if you're just out there in marketing and you want to, have something that works, just put Biscuits in your name. We've found that out. If you put Biscuits in anything, in any name, it tends to really go viral. So Biscuits and hot yoga, the next big thing, not just biscuits or not.
True. We might be starting a franchise.
Yeah. Biscuits and hot yoga. Biscuits and puppies. And just put it out there.
Yeah.
You name it. All right. We've gone completely off the rails here at Biscuits and SEC. But we're not effing leaving. I had to do that with my mini mic before we got out of here. That is from the hit movie. What is it? Is it The Big Short? No.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street. Yes, with Leonardo DiCaprio, a classic. So, all right. It is hot as heck in my house right now. I don't know why it's so hot. It's probably why it looks like I'm sweating on camera here. But for me and my mini mic, this is Biscuits and SEC Live. I am Boss Man. That is Hammer. Please go sign up for the Biscuits and SEC newsletter, biscuitsandsec.com/newsletter. Everything you need to know about the SEC, everything you need to know about what's going on in college athletics as well. Also, be sure check out everybody on the After Dark Network, Offseason After Dark, Tuesdays in the morning. That typically is when that comes out. Mike Huseman, it is his time to shine. Does a great job over there. Talks about all sorts of things, goes in and outside the SEC. SEC After Dark, Thursdays, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. We will be there with the whole crew tomorrow night. And then Bama After Dark, that is Jake Thomas. He does a great job covering the Tide. And then the Regular Guys pod, that's on a hiatus right now, but you can check their feed. I'm sure they will be back soon. So the Steer Agency, we are presented by the Steer Agency. Thank you to those guys for sponsoring the show, a.k.a. me. That's what I do outside of Biscuits and SEC. Newsletter, sign up, Boss Man, Hammer. We will see you guys tomorrow night for SEC After Dark. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate y'all.